Back again, crazy as it may sound, on episode 18 here. And it's a good time for you to grab that second mug of coffee. Let's talk a little bit about news, views, and some interesting topics today. Maybe a little touch on AI mentoring. And I actually want to talk about some of the things that Scott Adams actually said about how to maintain or build happiness in your life. And, one of the biggest things everybody struggles with is this concern for happiness. Yeah. And so, I think it's a pretty good topic. So I'll first, excuse me. First thing I'll do is jump into talking about a couple of things that are kind of big news today. And then after that, we'll dive right into that topic. So on the news front, let me just bring up my screen. And first, if anybody on the chat can give me a quick typical thumbs up, are we good to go? And then once I know we're good to go, I'll begin. Let's see here. I'm just asking one of my folks that actually monitors getting this started on the other side to see that the stream is running, because I hate to start and then have to stop and then start and then stop. So, and also, hey, good morning. All right. I'm glad to see things are good. And audio sound good today, I think, probably. Yes, no, anybody? I think I'm going to just assume it is. And if it's not, somebody can tell me. How's that? So the thing that I'm looking for today in the news, I want to preface it. As we get going, one of the things that I had this experience yesterday with OBS. Now I'm back to trying with OBS because it's a really good tool if everything works. And out of the 20 days, I've only had one day where it failed. So I'm going to continue working with it. I did some updates, so hopefully that won't be a problem. But if it does, give it just a minute because I'm going to kill it, and then I'm going to jump right onto the Rumble stream just like I did yesterday. And that way there's not such a big gap of time. So if things go south, I will be right back. So anyways, let's jump into a few topics here. So things that I really want to talk about, you'll notice there'll be things that I ignore. I'm as much as I definitely have a strong political centering. My politics are not necessarily far right or far left in any respect. They're kind of dead in the middle with outliers in both directions. And by the way, if you haven't taken your second sip of the day, now's a great time. And I'm going to go ahead and take one more here. Iced coffee is good. So, I probably won't dive into a lot of the politics is all I'm going to get at. I will say, just a brief comment on this, that I'm glad that they actually have to show up just like the rest of us. It is really disconcerting when every single political person out there can just go, nah, I don't need to. And then you end up in a situation where, the corruption or the graft or the negative things that they're doing never get called to account. And the rest of us go, I missed, I didn't claim enough on my taxes, and unfortunately I have to pay now, and you're going to take me to court over that, and maybe lose your house or something like that for something as trivial as like a total mistake. And yet other people just absolutely dive right in and say, hey, yeah, we can totally do this. So, and I guess some people do want me to talk a little bit about politics. So I'll share a couple thoughts then. But, I think the biggest thing, if you haven't seen it, even though it's off the air and no longer available, to my knowledge, it's except maybe somewhere buried on Netflix, you got to watch House of Cards. that movie, that show, when I watched it before Kevin Spacey was accused and the show collapsed and all of that, amazing. And if there was ever a semi not autobiographical gender swapped story of Hillary Clinton, it seems to be that was it. Nobody knows any reality around whether it was true or not, or if it leaned too close to reality or not, or what, I don't know. But that particular thing definitely smacked of some of the things that you see in what's going on here. So, if we go just take a peek, it's like, I don't want to open the cookie jar. I'll have a cookie. So, for them to have the ability to reject a subpoena term, that doesn't seem right. But knowing that that they can be held in contempt, being held in contempt of Congress, I bet is sort of like being kept after school when you already know that you're in trouble anyways. It's like, I'm getting kept after school, but it's actually cool because if they didn't keep me after school, there's a big bully who's going to beat me up outside. There's real trouble waiting for you outside, and then you get busted so that you can dodge having to go outside and face the real bully, right? So whatever happens with this, all I hope is that we're going to get some justice on it. I can't say that I don't know what that justice is. I don't know for anybody what that really means, but I will say this. There was somebody posted to me yesterday. Now, if you remember yesterday, I talked a little bit about my daughter-in-law. And one of the things that prompted the conversation is she sent me a list. And basically what she sent me is something about the Epstein files. And the first item was Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and President Trump. And because it came from a left-leaning media source, that basically I was like, well, this is what's called list persuasion. This is where you have five or six things typically on a list, and when you get towards the bottom of them, or somewhere within that list, they're going to put something false. And when you look at, if, as everybody has said in the past, if President Trump was going to be on that list, it would have been all over the news for the last 10 years, right? They would have burned him to the ground, right? As a matter of fact, now what we're understanding is there's communications between people on the list, and I don't know the veracity of this, but there are people who are plotting with Epstein to take Trump down, which tells you all you need to know, in my opinion, about all of the allegations against Trump. If you're actually thinking that, I find it ironic that, when COVID came out, it was literally announced 5 days. We knew something was happening, right? We knew people were getting sick, but we didn't have a name for it yet. But then Trump comes back, has this cabinet meeting, or it wasn't a cabinet meeting, but it was just a big public meeting, and there were all kinds of people in the room. And he was doing a Trump thing. He was kind of bragging for his accomplishments, And that's a good thing, because as a politician, you need to continuously update people and remind them what you did, because the reality of politics is, what have you done for me lately, right? There's no, what are you going to do for me? What's next? It's, what have you done for me lately? And if you don't continuously remind them of what you did lately, the achievements get totally forgotten. So he was sitting, I remember there was this room with the two pillars and railings on the side. I don't know what room it is, but I think it's a room in the White House, or maybe, I'm pretty sure it's the White House. And the room was filled. There's press in the back. There's a bunch of military people and obviously staffers and Congress people or whatever, all in front of him. And there were mostly people who were on his side, I think, for the most part. And he was just sitting there leaning against one of those pillars saying, we just did a big negotiation with China, and we got everything we wanted. They're going to pay everything we asked them to pay, and it's going to be great. We're going to get everything we asked for, and they're going to pay because they've been cheating us for decades, right? So that was kind of the thing that he was saying. And literally 5 days later, COVID, boom, it just happened. It was just out there. And at that point, everything fell in. Now, when it seemed as though they tried the impeachment, tried the investigations, tried the Russia collusion hoax, boom, 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 kept pounding on all of that. Nothing was working. And then all of a sudden, he does something where there's a little cooperation between China and the U.S., and suddenly something from China goes, boom, here you are. And then I really have to say, one of the things I found interesting at that time also was that the minute he tried to do something, he put out this Operation Warp Speed, and they took everything he said out of context. We know all of the things that he said about, we're gonna try and mass produce a vaccine to save everybody and all of that, and that was great. As a matter of fact, I got the shots for Operation Warp Speed because I didn't get the mRNAs. I didn't get the approved ones after the fact. It so happened that my wife was working at a hospital, and we were patients 17 and 19 in one of the Operation Warp Speed trials because, frankly, I went in the military because I was a little bit patriotic. I support my country. I love my country, and I wanted to do something good. And so when this whole thing happened with COVID, we knew about the trial, and we knew it was a different strain from, well, we didn't even know about the mRNA stuff at that point. Nobody knew. This is like the very first couple days. So there was a shot that they had where they used what was called TK cells, and it's I don't know if it's telomere, I don't know what it is, but something killer. And the object was to take a cell that is known to be like an antibody-like thing that aggressively goes after certain illnesses or whatever. And then they kind of hollow out chunks of it and then replace it with the virus in this case. And so they gave it to us. And, the swelling on the back of the arm, we had to get 2 shots over a period of like 3 weeks. You get the first one, and we were joking literally like, I think I'm going to grow another arm out of the back of my arm. It was, the shot in your arm, it was in the fat and it just got huge. So we did this shot. And apparently because it was one of the Operation Warp Speeds and not one of the major pharmaceuticals, it got pushed aside. It was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. So after that, the Operation Warp Speed finished up, and then suddenly all of that stuff was banned. And now my shots that I took that should have made me viable to travel were no longer viable to travel, and you had to get something else. So all of that stuff came about all because Trump was in a positive light trying to go after good things, trying to do good things. And then they'd shut that down, and it became this negative thing. And next thing you know, you couldn't get anything but the approved things. Fine. So all of that happens. Good. We move on. And the whole point of that was really not, it was not about the shot. This is about the politics around that. And it was really about, it was okay when you joined up with things for something that was patriotic, and then they flipped it and said, nope, that's evil, that's bad, you can't do it, or it doesn't count. And, it was like brutal, it was just crazy. So anyways, I don't want to go down this path too deep because virus stuff is not really my area. It's not the thing I want to talk too much about. But I will say that there were a couple things that occurred during that period of time that I just have memories of this. So if you were living in Southern California during all of that, one of the things that was just kind of crazy. So we lived close enough to the ocean that if I went for my walk every day, which I tried to go for a walk every day, or I went for a bike ride, and every single day you'd look out on the bay. All right. There was where I was, you could see there's a couple of islands right off of the coast by Newport Beach. And the name is escaping me, Santa something. I can't remember the name of the islands right now, but I'm looking out and I see all of these container ships. And, first couple of days, it's like, okay, you see one container ship. And then as time went on, as the shutdown went on, there was like 5, and then there was like 12, and then there was like 20. And I remember I ordered some stuff from Amazon. It took 4 months to get there. And I was like, this is crazy because it's right out there. Whatever it is that I'm waiting for, it's on a boat right out there. I could swim practically. I could probably kayak out to one of the container ships if they'd let me on, and I could get the stuff that I was waiting for. And some of the things we waited for took 4 months to come in. And I know a lot of you probably experienced that too, but just so weird, I mean, it was surreal. You go for a walk. There's nobody on the road, nobody outside. And the one time I remember I was out there, I'm walking alone with nobody, and I'm 20, 30 feet away from people. And this lady who's like, 50 feet from me is yelling at me, "Where's your mask?" I'm like, what is this? This is nuts. Okay, whatever. So anyways, bad days, bad memories, good memories, but bad memories, if you know what I mean. So, but it was so surreal. It was like looking at all of these things in these memories that you have, especially when you can see something where I'm looking up the coast and I can see like 12 or 15 miles up the coast. I can see all of these ships just sitting out there in a parking lot. They were never there before. I lived there for 12 years. And the entire time I was there, right up until the end of when we moved out, before those ships cleared out, we never saw that many ships. They were just, it was like, you'd see one cruising in, one cruising out, and that was it. And then all of a sudden it's like, it looks like a giant parking lot. I'm like, wow. It was just weird. So anyways, on to other topics of interest. One of the big ones that I'm looking for here, the wet dress rehearsal went fine. They had a hydrogen leak, so they are, I don't know if they're going to roll the big Artemis 2 back in, but hydrogen is like the tiniest molecule there is, or atom there is, and when you try and contain it, it leaks out of everything. So it's the hardest fuel to possibly use, which I think is funny. That's why I believe the new is one of the reasons that the SpaceX Super Heavy went methane, because it was just a bigger molecule, and it doesn't, or bigger. Methane is a molecule, not an atom, right? Yeah, it's made up of atoms. Anyways, the idea is that it doesn't break down into such a small component that you end up with as many leaks, so you can contain it for longer periods of time. But that was a good thing. The let's see here. It doesn't seem like there's too much news here, but this was the big one that I was kind of blown away by. So, over the past couple of weeks, I've been talking quite a bit about space technologies and space launch, and the fact that we're going to have constellations of data centers in orbit, data centers around Mars, data centers on Mars probably. And now SpaceX acquired xAI, which is the backbone of Grok. It's the data center AI arm of, and they own X now. So to think that the X and xAI, which creates Grok and Grokopedia, all of that is now owned by SpaceX. So basically, the biggest space launch industry in the world now owns the biggest AI company in the world, and they have figured out that when they start launching data centers, it will be cheaper by an order of magnitude to put data centers in orbit than to build them on Earth. So all of the stuff that we're in a big panic about right now, building power and AI infrastructure, and we're not going to be able to keep up, this one acquisition is going to change the entire industry completely inside of a couple of years. We're going to see, once we start seeing regular launches of the big Super Heavy rocket, and they're able to put 30 to 60 of these satellites in orbit or more, out of whack. And, they're planning on, they have two factories now to build these rockets. They're going to be building them like one a day or maybe one a week or something like that. And I think the goal is one a day for the engines and one a week for the ships. And I mean, the Artemis, we've got 2 of them in 10 years. And this thing, we have already seen like 15 of them built, maybe 18 of them built. Yeah, Booster 18 is the one they're testing right now. So, and they're going to probably start popping them out. Like, they're just going to be massive, the number of these things that come out. So orbit is absolutely going to be the next domain. It's like literally the new frontier, the wild, wild west or the wild, wild up. And when that kicks in, the investments in AI, the investments in SpaceX, data launch, chip companies, all of those investments and solar, they're all going to go through the roof. So it's just amazing. And to see that they've actually made that acquisition, I still hope that they do some kind of a Tesla x SpaceX merger so that those of us who own Tesla actually get some exposure to SpaceX, because as a private equity, great. Whoever owns SpaceX is going to do quite well. There are funds you can invest in to be part of that, but I don't know, exactly the right ones. So, and this one's interesting. French authorities raiding X's Paris offices for cybercrime. I mean, I find it funny because I can't imagine that there's genuine cybercrime being conducted by X. It just doesn't make sense. But, whatever charges, they'll trump up any charge they can to go after it. But here, I guess this is the logical one. Child abuse images and deep fakes. That's their excuse. Now, there's no question that on X there's deep fakes that happen all the time, but the vast majority of them are marked as spoofs. They're marked as parody accounts, so shouldn't be that big a deal. But the big question will be the manipulation of the algorithms. Now, the way that Musk dealt with that is he actually knew the allegation was coming, so he just open sourced the algorithm. He said, here's the algorithm. It's public. You can absolutely go for it. And yes, if you haven't guessed, I am very pro Elon, not because it's not political. It's because I'm astounded by, if he were Thomas Edison, I would be astounded about Thomas Edison. If he were one of the Wright brothers, I'd be all behind him for the same reasons. It's when I think about technology, I think about this, just the idea. When I was a kid growing up, I said something to my mother. She said, "You should get into computers," and I said, "Nah, that's just a fad." As I was 16, I said this. I didn't know anything. I was an idiot. But I was like, yeah, that's a fad. I don't want to do that. Too hard. And, so I backed off from it. And then I went in the Army, and I took 10 years of time to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my world, my life. And eventually I did go into computers. And but what it came down to was you can't sometimes see the obvious when people tell it to you, because you don't have the breadth, you don't have the experience to just know. And, it was for me to have that opinion of computers and say, nah, and then to turn around and end up in computers because it just made sense. That's how I see, and the other side of it. I remember playing video games on this 8-bit computer, like Duck Hunt and Space Invaders. Those are the big ones. And then there are a couple of others. Pac-Man. And I wasted more quarters and hours of my life playing those games. Then you had to go down to the bowling alley to play them. And then to turn around and start getting into computer games when they started to take off. It was like, it was the dream. It was just like these amazing. I was playing games like Mech Warrior 2, where you had this what we called big stumpy death robots running around shooting each other, and the realism and the action that came about, the feeling of excitement of you're inside the cockpit of this thing and it's jolting around, and the screen's just going back and forth as this thing's, and you're trying to aim while this thing is jolting around, and it was just really the feeling it gave you to know that compared to the 8-bit characters that you saw on a screen when you're shooting the bing 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 bing, trying to shoot the asteroids or shoot the aliens on Space Invaders or whatever. It was so different, and the depth and the immersion of that was amazing. And now, I don't know if you have seen, but like I put a couple videos out there the other day on YouTube, and when I did, I put a little kind of a AI trailer, and I made one for yesterday's video and put it on the front of that. And basically, what I did is I took the song Tom Sawyer, and I took the lyrics from that song and I put it into a video, and I twisted the lyrics so that they were mine instead of the original. And I mixed it up with a couple of other songs. And then I took a picture of me in high school, and I made the video off of that. So I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna play the video for you real quick because it was kind of funny. Let's see here. I think this is the one. Yeah, here we go. So I'm not sure if this is it. Let me just see. Yeah, I think this could be it. So let me bring it up now. Here you go. Let's see. I hope the audio doesn't blow it out, but let's try it.
He fights against the sinister plan with the gentle. You can see all his dents, perches in his eyes. The worker says that's the way it is, guy. And Tom, he just wants to go home.
Video.
Hey there, I thought I'd do a quick intro.
And then started into, the regular show after that. And then I put a little front end on it because I went into the news, and then I deleted it out because of all the technical difficulties I had yesterday. So that's why that late night clip that I put at the front saying, this is why I clipped off the front end. But the second video that I put out yesterday, you might have seen it this morning on YouTube, goes straight into my topic for the day and skips over the news because I had all of those technical glitches. But the whole perspective was I created that video from a tiny little picture out of my yearbook. I mean, a picture the size of my thumb, and it created this like scene. And I said, create a scene of a city scene in Toronto around 1981, and use these lyrics to animate it. And I didn't play the audio there, but there was actually audio that was associated with it, and it sang the lyrics. Matter of fact, let's see if I'll bring up the audio and see if we can get that going too here. Let's see what we get. Audio. Yep, that's on. And I know why. Did you hear the audio? I don't know if you guys heard the audio. Because I have my audio turned down, so I won't hear it. But I'll play it one more time just to see if the audio actually kicked in. I'll look on the...
He fights against the sinister plan with the gentle. You can see all his dents, perches in his eyes. The worker says that's the way it is, guy. And Tom, he just wants to go home.
Hey there, I thought I'd do...
Yeah. So the whole idea there is... this is going back to the development of technology and why all of this stuff is so cool and exciting. To be able to take a moment like that, put an audio track to it, create some lyrics out of the blue that had nothing to do with anything, and then just play it and use that as my clips. I did the same thing with the previous clips. Like there's one of the videos that's like a Major Tom kind of thing, and I created this little vignette scene at the beginning of the video where this person's going up to work on a spaceship, and then work on a satellite, and then he jets off, jumps into his spaceship, and flies away to go work on the next satellite. And these are clips that, maybe they're a little choppy, maybe they're not perfect, but just to think that I'm no studio director, I'm not a movie maker or anything like that, but I was able to create these 10 to 20 second clips with nothing more than a paragraph, because the AI behind it just renders everything out perfectly. And it was amazing. I mean, and thank you, by the way, for the audio feedback. It just blows my mind. So when I'm looking at the news, I gravitate towards wanting to talk about things like SpaceX and XAI and all of these things, and why. And it's the reason I'm a fan of people like Elon, because they make these things possible. They make these things that are exciting and fun. Today you think of that as, okay, I made a quick little video clip. In a few years, it's like the holodeck on Star Trek. You can walk into a room and the whole room gets a projection around you and you can drop into a scene. Just imagine going back to high school. Yesterday I talked about you can't go back, right? You can't go back to your past and relive what it was when you had that great period of time when you were 20 and you had all your faculties, your health and your energy, and you could go out clubbing and partying and having fun and no responsibility. You can't go back to that, right? But you can bring snippets of it back into your life. And that's what makes all of this technology so exciting. So, that's why I gravitate towards some of these things. And I don't really care about worrying about these things like the Minneapolis protesters. One of the reasons why I don't is because, again, just like the whole thing I mentioned before with Trump and the vaccines, when you come here to this, I'm like, so we have riots, protesting people lawfully removing illegal aliens that are specifically mentioned because they are specifically criminals, that they are specifically being removed. It's not like they're just roving around looking for random people on the street. And the only people that seem to be getting shot are the people who are protesting. The only people who get hurt are the ones who are actively throwing themselves in front of armed people and expecting no negative outcome. When I was growing up, if I walked up to a cop with a gun on and started giving him crap, I'd have got smacked in the head. And that would have been appropriate because that's the way, we had respect for the police. The police are an authority, and they're going to look at you and they're going to make a judgment on you based on what you look like, what you're doing, and they have to make a snap decision and in 2 seconds be able to carry out whatever it is they need to do. Are some of them corrupt? Yeah. Anytime there's power, there's corruption. Sorry, that's the truth. And that's why we always want to dig in and understand what happened. But, for me, I don't want to. It's sort of like when Scott talked about a murder going on. He didn't want to put the picture of the murderer in, and he didn't want to give their name out. And that's exactly how I feel about this stuff, because most of this stuff is coordinated. I mentioned before about when I first started doing cybersecurity monitoring. One of the things that I started to really pay attention to was peer-to-peer networking and bitstream connection or BitTorrent connections between endpoints. And the idea that you can have a Telegram, a Signal, Mammoth, or whatever these other apps are, they're all peer-to-peer. They can't be tracked by a centralized server, so you don't know when people are, they could be doing child pornography, they could be doing attack coordination, and we don't have the ability to snoop in on that and know. And I'm sorry, as much as people don't like it, in order to have laws that are actually carried out and that we all get to live in a peaceful country where laws actually, if we abide by those laws, we have a peaceful life. When you abide by those laws and you respect the authorities that you've put in place, you have to give them enough power to do their job. And having a totally secret, hidden method for protesters that are paid to actually get communications and command and control coordination of their efforts Some of the things that I saw being mentioned about this on X had to do with people actually cordoning off all of the different blocks of that area that these protesters are in. And they had people with whistles that basically, once they start whistling, they use the Signal app or the Telegram app to get other people to just like herd over to the area where the whistling was coming from. And now suddenly you went from having no protesters to 50 protesters surrounding 6 people that were there to pick up one ICE agent, one criminal, right? They're picking up a criminal. Now, and why is that happening? Because the police will not hold the criminals. They put them out into the community. They don't hold them. If they held a criminal, then ICE could come get them from the police station, and it would be perfectly peaceful. There would be no issues. Nobody would get hurt. But because the government is saying, no, let's just let everybody go. We don't care. And you, the community, it's all on you. And then we have these paid protesters who actually come out and take the people that we send in to do the job the police were ordered not to do, to go capture those criminals, put them in the deportation cycle and send them wherever they need to go, or just detain them until a court date, whatever it might be. All of that gets circumvented, and it's all based on this shadowy agenda. And it's like, how can we function as a country with any kind of law enforcement when we have people actively working against us like that? And why is this all happening? Because of the fraud. Besant was being sent in there, as I understand it, to do part of the fraud investigation. Walz didn't give him any kind of a security escort. Besant doesn't come with a Secret Service of his own, and he doesn't have a police escort to bring him in. So the investigation the ability for the investigation to occur meant that Besant had to drive through these communities where this kind of stuff was happening with no security, no protection, to go conduct fraud review on the government that's not holding criminals, making it physically dangerous to come into that area. The whole thing is, let's just protect the people who stole the money. That's it. And that's all, to me, that's all this is. So it all comes down to the basic agenda, and then using it to say, oh, they're fascists, they're Nazis, and using the agenda of saying they're fascists and Nazis to say they're not human, basically, so you can kill them. Having people go in there armed. It's just nuts. Anyways, that stuff, I don't like to focus as much on it, but it is one of those things that I guess you can't avoid. This one here I'll jump on. This is something, if you haven't seen, it's probably worth taking a look at for us to understand that the EU is actively censoring free speech in the United States. Case in point, X being persecuted in France because of their open, freedom of speech scenario, and trying to be trying to say that everything is shadow banning and everything, and it's being some right-wing conspiracy theory that they're, and when I say right-wing, I mean it's a left-wing conspiracy theory that the right wing is controlling X. And then so it's just so cool that Elon goes, oh, you think my algorithms are corrupt? Here, they're open source. Have at it. You can look at every single line of code. I don't care. And that just tells you when there's fraud, we hide things, we block access, we fight. When there's no fraud, you don't care. You put it out in public. You say, here you go. And that to me is the whole point of all of this. So, and when you think about that, right, why is the EU censoring their citizens? Don't ask me. And do you really want a guy like this censoring you? Sorry, can't help myself. It's a picture. It might be a little bit comical. So, and watch, he's a GOP guy, right? He's a good guy. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, so, and I don't want to pick on people for physical characteristics and attributes because I got this giant nose and it's crooked because it's been broken so many times. Well, whatever. So looking at, Trump, this one, here's another one that for me, from a politics standpoint, why can't we find out what's going on behind the whole thing? If I don't know, it's an allegation that she married her brother or something like that. It's an allegation that she came here illegally, and it's an allegation that she was elected illegally. And I don't know. Who knows? How can we know? We can't know. But maybe we can. We can look at places like Citizen Portal and go in here and say, I wonder what the deal is over here. And we look at things like there's a civil rights probe in Minnesota shooting, right? That I think these kinds of sites are our key to understanding exactly what's going on. So again, like I said, if you don't know about Citizen Portal, it's citizenportal.ai. Go check it out. It's cool. It's all of the stuff you have in the news. It's one thing to talk about the news. It's another to specifically track and understand what's going on, specifically around the government. So if you have a concern and you want to know more about it, you can come here and actually see specifically what's happening. And these will post every single one of the hearings that you don't even know are happening. And all of the hearings are transcribed. So you can look at them, look at the actions that were generated. You can get the highlights so you don't have to read everything. You can look at the community around it if there is any. Sometimes there are, sometimes there are not. You can get into discussions on these things and, just understand we know that they put in these stupid bills, right? These giant bills where we have to vote on it, or not we, but our senators and representatives have to vote on these things. And there's a billion pages of garbage that we don't want them voting on, but they say, no, you got to vote for it all. I remember Nancy Pelosi having this comment of somebody said, well, what's in the bill? And she goes, we won't know until you vote on it. I'm like, really? So just to know that you can come here now and actually dig into it and get a highlight of it. You don't have to read everything line by line. This one here, I love this. Regulation by enforcement is dead. Now, what does that really mean? That's what I want to know. So the past enforcement-focused approaches to crypto regulation. Regulation by enforcement. I think he means enforcement by regulation, but who knows? Anyways, so the big thing, there was a major drop in crypto the other day, and it absolutely had to do with the fact that we just had this legislation put in that's going to kind of normalize cryptocurrency a little bit and make it more accessible so you can get, this Project Crypto is going to make it easier for people to, it'll allow more regulation, frankly, but it'll take a little bit of the privacy away from crypto, which, again, before crypto becomes mainstream and before now, crypto was used by criminal networks to pay for criminal things. So, that it's coming into the light and it's also like shady dealings with being able to pump and dump, where they'd have somebody out there on YouTube saying, oh, look at this great new crypto stock. Buy in now. It's low and it's going to spike. It's going to go to the moon. And then you can sell out right before it goes. And then you put all your money in and next thing you know, it drops and you're like, oh, where'd my money go? And I had a friend and I were joint investors, not joint, but we were both investing at about the same time. So we would kind of trade information back and forth about what was going on. It's around 2020. And he and I both, he put like 5,000 in. I ended up over time putting about 20,000 into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple of other Solana, I think. So I put it all in, and it had kept going up and kept going up, and it was looking pretty good. And I don't know what it was, but I had a gut feeling, and it was a Friday afternoon. I was on the 405 in right outside of Newport Beach area. I was coming into Orange County from Los Angeles, coming back from we were doing CCTV cameras for Cedars-Sinai Hospital. We put like 1,000 cameras in. And so I'm driving home, and I had my investments all. Oh, no, you know what? I was working for a different company, and it doesn't matter. But as I was driving home, I got this gut feeling. I was listening to a podcast, and somebody was talking about it, and I was like, and he talked about the whole pump and dump thing. And I just said, I'm done. And I went on my app, driving along like an idiot, and I sold every one of my Bitcoin holdings, all of the crypto coin holdings, all of it. And when I did, I got all my money back out. I came out about even, maybe a couple dollars up. But that afternoon, there was a flash drop, and Bitcoin went from, like, at that time, I think the Bitcoin was something like $45,000. It went down to $19,000. And my friend didn't get out like I did. He lost all of that money. Eventually it came back, but at that moment in time, practically cost him his mortgage payment. He ended up getting divorced. It was like, ugh. And I was fortunate that, I was only putting in money that I could afford to lose. I had pulled it out. It was post-tax money, cash that I had been saving, and I'd saved it frugally and took time to save it. And then I put it into this, and then I was just so lucky to have pulled that out. I didn't get so lucky on a different investment I made that year too. I bought a bunch of gold, and if I had held it, oh my God, it's like $5,000 an ounce now. It was $1,000 an ounce then. And I put a huge chunk of money in. Like, I took money from my 401k and bought it. And then I lost 30,000 on it, just like gone. So, these are kind of the lessons learned. And the good news is I took all that money, dumped it into Tesla at that time, and I've made all that money back. So thank God, right? But the whole thing is these things get all of these possible things you could do, the mistakes you make and the actions you take in investing or things like that, they all get affected by policies. And you need an avenue to understand these policies and see what's going on behind the scenes. And it's not just hearing from people like me or hearing people, you've got to be able to pay attention to that. But people like me may be pointing out to you that you could go to a place like this and actually find all of these different articles and hearings and posts. I mean, to me, I think the one thing that I really like, I can get Florida news, so I can find out things like the new things that are going to come down the pike, when they're going to vote on property tax details and all of that, and I can understand what's going on. This is really going to be amazing, and it's all about our government. So it's not politics; it's about our government, and just paying attention to who's getting voted in, who's getting voted out. It's brilliant. So, anyways, I'm going to shift off of all of the news talk today because that, there's plenty to talk about here if you really want to dig into it. But I have to say the biggest thing is have your news sources, identify them, curate them, understand what you want to know about. At some point on Citizen Portal, if you've got a membership, I'm pretty certain you can create a set of standard searches that will give you the information you need to know about your local, like your school system. You can know what's going on down the street. You can know what's going on in the federal or in individual states, United Nations, all of this stuff. So this is becoming huge, and being able to just ask questions like, okay, once again, sorry about the stream interruption. OBS is not getting along. So, anyways, like I said, I'm gonna take the last few minutes here and flip over to the topic that I was saying that I prepared, and it it has to do with some things Scott Adams said that I'm going to capitalize on here because this stuff is pretty brilliant, and that is talking about happiness. And it's one of those things that give me a quick thumbs up one more time that you can see me again and you can hear me again. Anybody? Give me that stream thumbs up. So just threw it out in the chat there, wondering if anybody is actually seeing me, but I assume you are. If you're not, my apologies, but I'm going to keep going. Yes, good. Okay, great. So a couple of the things that about happiness. Now, I read a book about there's something about the happiness myth, and it was a really great book. And some of it came out of things that Scott Adams said, but it's also stuff that came out, or the happiness trap. That's it. If you haven't read the book Happiness Trap, I highly encourage it. It's amazing. And once I read that book, I stopped worrying about happiness. And it's really funny because, when you are pining for a mood, you want to feel good, and you don't feel good, you feel like I'm doing something wrong. I can't, what am I doing wrong that's preventing me from feeling happy? And it's all because everybody tries to, we like to have some permanence in the way things go. We want to feel like we have control of our day, right? We want to know that what's happening is not an accident. And we also want to know that happiness will come back. Happiness is not just going to evaporate every time something goes wrong. But generally speaking, happiness is a feeling. It's strictly a feeling, and your body is built to have feelings that come and go. You're not going to be in a permanent state of happiness or bliss. There's no way to do that, period, in life. It doesn't exist. But what you can do is acknowledge that certain thing, and I'm gonna read a few things so I get exact wordings here. So happiness is the natural state for most people whenever they feel healthy, have flexibility in their schedules, and expect a good future. Right? So this means you can't push a button for happiness, you can't take a pill for happiness, you can't drink a substance for happiness, you can't chant your way into happiness. Happiness just happens. And this is my perspective. Happiness and the word happens are kind of like the same word, aren't they? It just happens. Happiness happens. And the only way it happens is if you let it and you don't hold an expectation of it. And you also don't dictate the expectations on the happiness, right? So there's a part of this that comes from if your goal is happiness, you might achieve it for a minute, but it's like if your goal is to run as fast as you possibly can, I defy you to figure out how you're going to run as fast as you can permanently. It doesn't happen. It's not possible. We are able to achieve amazing things, but the state of happiness comes when you acknowledge what is happening and you see it a little bit from the outside. You don't spend all your time trying to have a feeling that is maintained with consistency all the time. You recognize your body's feelings, and your body, some of the things Scott would always tell us is your body is your brain, So your brain is what feels good when you are happy. You don't get happiness if your body doesn't feel good. If you damage your body, if you don't treat it right, if you don't put it on a schedule, if you don't take care of it and maintain it, it's going to make you unhappy. So being able to enforce, probably the hardest discipline anybody can enforce on themselves is sleep. It is really difficult to force sleep. But
this is again another area where Scott mentioned something that I thought was pretty interesting. If you can do a physical activity, an exercise, hard enough every single day for a period of an hour, your body will say, I got my exercise, and it will let you sleep. If you sat around and did nothing, or you didn't engage physically with something, you get to the point of going to sleep and you have restless energy that won't go away. And also being a real, for me, there's a habit for sleep. So I have my coffee. Yeah, and it's a lot of coffee, by the way, right? I drink a quart, almost a quart of coffee a day. Now, that's a lot of caffeine, but I cut it off before 2 p.m. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I have a drink of water, big, and it may not be water. In some cases, it's this. So what this is I do a greens mix and, powdered drink that I put in. So I get all my vitamins and minerals in one pop, put it in there, and then I guzzle it down first thing, or I have water first thing, one of the two. And I have a couple pills that I take as supplements, and some of them, I have a thyroid medicine that I have to take every day anyways. So every single day, I have a system where at night, I know I have to get up sometime, before I wake up in the morning, I have to get up and go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, and I have a thyroid medicine that basically, one of the things about if you take a thyroid medicine, you have to take it without anything else. So when I get up for that first bathroom break, I take my thyroid medicine, and then I just have it with water, because if you drink coffee, it blocks the absorption of that medication. So I don't want that to happen. I want the medicine to be in me, because if I don't take the medicine properly, I don't have enough energy during the day. Now, another thing, if any of you happen to take thyroid medicine, go pull out that piece of paper that has the fine print on it and look deeply at it, because there's actually, in the fine print, there's a couple of funny side effects. And that is, one of the side effects of some of the thyroid medicines is binge eating, if you can believe it. And people are sitting here going, I can't lose weight on thyroid medicine. Well, the reason is it's a synthetic synthroid levothyroxine that is completely manufactured, and it happens to have an ingredient that will make you binge eat. So I pay extra money to get an ultra pure version of my thyroid medicine. It's a little bit extra. Most health plans will cover it. It's called Tirosint. I'm not endorsing it or anything. You've got to do your own research. There are multiple brands that have minimal ingredients in it. This one, it literally has 3 ingredients total. So, and one of the number one ingredient is the medicine itself. So that way I'm getting an ultra pure version of the medicine that I need to take. I had my thyroid removed when I was, ablated by radioactive iodine when I was 27, because I had Graves' disease and I was hyperthyroid. So now I have no thyroid function, and I take this replacement hormone, and that I have to take it every day. And if you take it with coffee or with food or with other vitamins, it doesn't get into your bloodstream. It doesn't get into your body and work properly. So 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, I take one pill with a little cup of water, and I go back to bed. And then when I get up later, I usually either with water or whatever I have, I keep it in a bath. I keep a cup of water in the bathroom so that I can take my regular pills. And all I take are a couple things like anti-inflammatories, like turmeric, and I actually take an appetite suppressant, glucosamine. And I do that so that I'm not hungry, because I don't want to eat until late afternoon or early evening, because when I eat in the morning, I'm just sluggish. I would be sluggish right now if I had breakfast. So I take those pills first thing in the morning. It's probably 3 or 4 or 5 pills, something like that, just little things. And they're not that expensive. I don't take name brand anything. I take a kind of an off market, but I do research to make sure that they're moderately pure and not filled with a bunch of garbage. And then, like I said, this is my vitamin, right? I take a greens drink, and it's not AG1. I take a different brand, which maybe someday I'll share what that is. But I take all of that so that I have a consistent nutrient stream coming into my body, and then I drink my coffee, and I have my coffee, and I eat zero carbs throughout the day. If I need to eat something, I'll have one egg, maybe two eggs, and that's it. Maybe I might sprinkle a little piece of cheese on there. I usually go for a full fat cheese. I don't want carbs in my cheese or anything like that. I don't eat it with bread. I don't eat it with bacon. I don't eat it with anything else. Just a straight egg. And when that's all done, that usually cuts out any issue I have with hunger until dinner time. And then I drink my coffee. Noontime to 2 o'clock, no more caffeine. Zero caffeine for the rest of the day. Because if I have even a sip of coffee after 2 in the afternoon, a cup of coffee, I will be up until 2 o'clock in the morning, guaranteed. And if I have like a lot of coffee, like sometimes I'm not paying attention, and I'll sip this all day long, and next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock, and I sipped after two. I sipped all the way until 5 o'clock, and as a result, I could find myself up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just not able to fall asleep. So, cutting the caffeine, being religious about no caffeine, no stimulants, nothing that would stimulate you, especially sugars and carbs that have these give you the swings for glucose after 2 p.m. So that's my formula to make sure that I'm primed to go to sleep. And then I typically try and watch something boring or read after 11 p.m. because I go to sleep around midnight generally. And if I get to sleep at midnight and I get up 7 o'clock-ish, I'm good. I get a 7.5 hours of sleep, and I have perfect energy all day long. I feel great. And what ends up happening when I do that, I wake up before my alarm, usually 5 to 10 minutes before my alarm. My alarm never goes off. I turn it off before it even goes off, and I feel great every single day. And because of that, and it's a very strict, if I deviate from that, I know it. If I have one drink of alcohol, screws the whole thing up. If I have any kind of bad food, screws the whole thing up. If I eat after 9 p.m. or anything I eat after 9 p.m. goes straight to the waist, straight to my butt, and I see it on the scale the next morning, guaranteed. So having a routine, number one, is a key to you have a steady state of energy all day long, and that steady state is so valuable. And I cherish having clear thinking and being able to be focused when I want to concentrate and when I want to do something. So I absolutely cherish my clarity. I won't drink because of that. As Scott Adams used to say, alcohol is poison. It will kill you, and it will also ruin your day every single day. Every time, when I look back on my life, I can actually tell you every really bad day that I significantly remember after a certain age was alcohol related, or it was a result of things that I did that I kind of like redlining my day. Matter of fact, I used to have a lot of bad days because I drank things like the 5-hour energy drinks and energy drinks in general. I'd sip on an energy drink and it felt great when I was in the middle of experiencing the buzz from it, but after that, just wrecked my day the next day, wrecked my sleep. So as soon as I started cherishing my sleep and building a structure so that I could sleep, and by the way, the other things, perfect darkness in my room, I blackout curtains, I turn off everything. If there's background noise to bother me, I put on white noise so that I can cancel it. Generally speaking, I sleep in silence. And I also have discovered that I've had a surgery on my nose so that I could breathe better, so I wouldn't need a CPAP machine or anything for snoring. Turns out I put on nasal strips every night. And with a nasal strip and a little bit of Vicks in my nose so that it clears up my nose, I sleep like a baby. And it's perfect. But it's these rituals, the getting ready for bed ritual, brush my teeth, put on a nasal strip, put in a little bit of Vicks to make my sinuses feel clear, and then turn everything off, go to the bedroom, read something boring, something I want to know about, but something that's boring for a few minutes, get drowsy, fall asleep, and then get up the next day, wake up before my alarm, ideally, do my morning ritual of brush my teeth, take my shower, get myself ready. Every single day, I get ready as though I'm putting on a show, and I am. But I would do that anyways, because when I do that, I feel good. So, and I feel like I'm presentable and ready to go the minute I get up. So that totally helps level out mood, and mood fluctuations are the reason you're not happy, in my opinion, for most people. And then being able to, when I know I can be consistent like that all day long, I know that I'm not going to stress, and it allows me to have the energy and the mind share, the clarity to be able to come on here and do something like this. I'm not making any money doing this, but I'm doing it in the hopes at some point in the not too distant future, I might monetize this a little bit. I don't have enough of an audience at this stage to, bring in lots of money. So for those of you watching, please do share if you like my show. Share it with other people. Let other people know. And by all means, I encourage subscribing to the channel, giving the videos a like. When you give it a like, other people that watch the things you like to watch will see my videos. So that's, brilliant and useful and helpful. And, that's really the key. Now, the one thing I will say, stress is probably the number one thing that that is a cause for not being happy. And the only way to not stress is to know, first off, do the physical things that give you the ability to go to sleep at a regular time, and cherish your sleep, safeguard it with your life. And then after that, and believe me, I know that people they never understand how important that is. But then when you do get up, when you do actually face your day, make sure you spend a little bit of time daydreaming what you want the next thing to be. And what do I want? I want to be a person that people want to watch because I'm doing something to help you have a good life. Or maybe because you just enjoy my commentary, you enjoy what I have to say, and maybe that alone is enough for you to be interested in watching what I've got to say. So for me, I'm doing this. I've been fortunate enough to set myself up financially well enough that I can afford a runtime for things like this to kind of pick up. But you have to, in order to get that financial stability, there's like three things Scott would always say. How do you know? How can you feel happy? Did I do something physical? Did I do something to further my career, my life, my skills, my work? And did I have a communication or an interpersonal relationship connection with somebody every single day that makes me feel good? And so that really makes a difference. So I communicate with my wife. I make a point of every single day. My day doesn't start if I don't give my wife a hug and a kiss. It's not official until I give her that. Until I, say hello to my son, and ideally maybe say hello to my daughter-in-law, and then to say hello to you. And so this, for me, just like Scott Adams would say, this is me giving out as much care as I can to the world, but to whoever is at this moment, whoever's listening, to take the time to share what I know, if I can, in a way that helps you. And the best part about this is you get to listen to me uninterrupted, because a lot of times this conversation wouldn't ever be completed because there would be communication back and forth. So you get to hear the full message and, decide if you want to listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, that's okay. It's perfectly fine. But deciding if you want to listen to it, you can rewind and fast forward through the parts that are boring and you don't like, and get something out of it that you do like, and something that can help your life. So to me, this is that human connection part. Even if I don't see you, I do chat with you if you chat to me, which, by the way, if you always happy to see somebody poke their head in and say hi or whatever on the chat. But knowing that you're doing the work, right? Knowing that you are building a set of skills that will ultimately lead to a set of habits that will ultimately lead to some kind of an income stream for you, that will ultimately lead to financial security, that will ultimately lead to less stress, less worry, and get you to a place where you can, just live and be happy, right? Be happy. But you don't get there without the work that it comes with. It's one of the things that people don't understand is, first off, you have to have that daydream. You have to daydream about a good future, and do it while you're clear, while you have energy, while you feel somewhat good. Daydream about the positive thing you want to happen, and let that feeling exist in your mind, because when you imagine the best possible outcome, it's the same set of brain cells that you use to remember the worst possible past. It's the exact same set of brain cells. So the more you imagine a good and better future, which is why I like to talk about so many of the good things that are happening in the world, the more you override the bad past, right? That's literally feed your head good things, put good thoughts in your head, listen to music that is inspiring and good, not negative and bad, and don't allow yourself to have a residual effect from bad propagates bad. Have good propagates good. Beat it out of your brain. Push the negative away. And it's okay to just literally say, when a recurring thought won't go away, just say, get out of my head. That's what Scott used to say too. Get out of my head. I don't need you. You're unproductive. You're not helpful. You're not giving me any benefit, right? So focus on the things that you love. Focus on the looking forward to the things that are good. It's definitely something that, and yeah, my son's listening here, and pardon his nickname, but whatever. But focus on the positive, because the positive is, and imagine a possible positive future, because that really is what it triggers the endorphins that give you the motivation to do the hard work that gets you to that future. It is. So, and then be grateful, right? Being grateful, everybody hears this, but you don't have to, when somebody says be grateful and you're sitting in the middle of a messy room in a bad place, a bad situation, you physically don't feel good, it's really hard to feel grateful. But just find the one or two things that are good and be thankful for that. Be thankful for whatever good parts of your health you have. Be thankful for people that are willing to help you. Be thankful for the situation that is keeping you in a good place when it's there. Those are the things to focus on when you can. And then one of the ways to be grateful is to count your wins. Did you accomplish something today, yesterday, the day before? Count them. Count them up. How many did you do? How many good things happened this week versus last week? And for every good thing that happened versus every bad thing that happened, what you'll find is that the bad things tend to just be what barges into your life and you sometimes have no control over. But the good things come from the things you have 100% control over, which means you can actually outmaneuver the bad things. You can outmaneuver the bad things by doing consistently more and more of the good things that are building you to a better future. And those good things are just going to continuously grow. And the bad things will fall away and they'll become a memory, a distant memory, if you keep adding the new things. And then focus on that, the physical health is probably the biggest things. So I got a couple more points I'm going to cover here, and then I'll wrap it up for the day. Yes, I'll consider a wacky Wednesday if we can do something fun and funny. And if any of you have any fun or funny thoughts you want to throw at me that we can I can throw back at you and maybe put a little twist on them, we'll do that. So the biggest thing, though, is systems, right? You've got to build these systems. And one of the things about life is that there's a kind of an equation. 80% of your life should be focused on doing something that has purpose. Like, I take training so that I have skills. I learn something new. I read something, or I watch a video to learn something because it leads to feeling good. So 80% of your life will be about the work. And if you can focus on heading towards work that you are compatible with and you like, and that's the work that you can move towards something you want to do, then the other 20% is what you feel when you look back and you have a sense of accomplishment. It's the 20% of your life being pleasure, as opposed to 80%. If you chase pleasure and you make it anything more than 20% of your life, it will overrun all of the good parts of your life. And as a result, you should feel guilty, right? I don't know about you. Like, if I had homework on a Saturday morning and I wanted to watch cartoons and I knew my homework wasn't done, I had a pit in my stomach because I knew that I still had to do it. And I'm sitting here just blowing time, watching cartoons. And then that would roll into watching Creature double feature and probably watching Godzilla in the afternoon, and then going out and going to the skating rink or doing whatever I did with my friends in the evening. And oops, I just lost Saturday. And then it would happen again on Sunday. Oops, I just lost Sunday. And now I have a panic attack Sunday night because I know I've got to get my homework done before Monday morning. And this is the same thing for work, right? You go out and play golf, I don't play golf, but if you did, you go out and you play golf and you spend all day chasing around a golf ball. And then next thing you know, you come home and you knew you have to do that report and you didn't do it for work, or you had to do some kind of effort and you didn't do it. I just finished a project where I knew I had this work to do that I didn't. It's the least fun. I mean, I do a lot of work writing proposals, and I do a lot of work helping companies implement AI systems that are related to supporting proposal management and proposal writing, and also third-party risk management and things like that. So I consult as a contractor to a couple of companies and help write proposals, and I help build the systems that keep the knowledge management necessary to write proposals easily and quickly. And then I also I help build the AI systems that you use to monitor your third-party risk in your company. So those are all, frankly, incredibly boring things to do. I mean, they really are. And I literally have to clamp down on myself and force myself, like blot out everything and say, I got to do it. And then I do my work, and it sucks. But it's the way I bring in a little bit of cash that I don't have to worry about keeping a roof over my head. I hate it. I really hate it. But when I do it well and I get done, I look back, the stress is gone. The stress of worrying about where my money's coming from is gone. And because of that, I feel like I can enjoy doing something like this, and I can put my full heart into it, and I don't have to worry. So 80% of life is working on your goals, your purposes, your systems, 20% chasing pleasure, and 20% ideally of chasing pleasure after you did the 80% of the work. So that's why, you have 5 days of work and 2 days off generally. It does fit. Even if it's some artificial construct out there that's a result of manufacturing and, the supporting the satanic mills, as the Luddites used to say. You have to put it in to get it out. And the more you put in, the more satisfied you are when you take it out. And when I go away on a cruise, I check out. I enjoy my day. I enjoy my week. I enjoy my 10 days, whatever it is. I'm going to be doing a cruise in June. I'm going to do like 40 days. We're going to go to Norway, Iceland, and we booked it, paid for it, and I'm going. And it's I'm doing that, and I'm not going to even sweat it because I'm doing the work right now that makes sure that all my bills are paid and covered, so that when I go, I don't have to worry about it. I can do it, right? I can only do something like that because I put in the 80% effort up front to make that 20% of my year go well, right? So if you chase success a little bit more than you chase happiness, you probably will find your happiness is going to go up. So, and then here's the other one. This is just a provocative, kind of humorous take. As soon as you learn to think of other people as noisy furniture, the sooner you'll be happy. And that's a direct quote from Scott Adams. He's a great humorist, writes some great stuff on that. So definitely a good reframe. And happiness has more to do with where you are headed than where you are. So it's not where you are that makes you happy, but where you're going. And always keep that at the forefront. These are all quotes from Scott Adams, so I'm going to just continue with a couple more here. The source of almost all unhappiness is other people. And that is the truth. The noisy furniture, the people who barge in on your life, the people who put expectations on you, the people who make you do what you don't want to do, the people who interrupt your day when you're in the middle of having a good time or a peaceful time, an easy time, and they just intrude and make your life miserable, or the people that you're counting on that don't come through. All of those things are the things that, and the less you have to count on somebody, the better your life is. It's good when you can have interactions and interrelations, but the less you have to count on them, the better. And then you can always improve your mood by completing meaningful tasks. And worse comes to worse, as you're completing the meaningful tasks, it'll make you tired and you can get some sleep, right? Now, a couple of nuances about all of this. And again, this is all tied somewhat to what Scott Adams has said. Happiness, for the most part, is a physiological body state. It's your body chemistry, the food you eat, the sleep you get, the exercise you do, and the management of your dopamine. The dopamine being, did you learn something? Did you improve yourself? Did you see find a way to see a path to that better future? Those are all dopamine hits. And if you're getting your dopamine hits from an artificial substance, it will drain you and it will damage you. Flexible schedules, the biggest thing you can do is find a way to do work that gives you a flexible schedule. This here for me, I commit to 1 hour a day to be in front of this camera. It's a little more than an hour a day. And then I spend some time during the day, anytime up to midnight, post-processing on a couple things on the video and doing those cute little AI videos if I put them in here. And then avoid energy-draining people, energy-draining arguments, or energy-draining situations that are counterproductive to that 80%. Just avoid them. Get away from them. Don't invite them into your world. And if you have to engage with them, keep it limited. Don't allow it to overwhelm your other parts of your life. And then focus on meaning, purpose, and utility. Focus on the things that you are doing that are with a purpose. And the purpose is that thing you imagine and daydream about in the future where your better life is coming. Imagine and focus on that purpose over fleeting pleasures. Put down the game controller, and instead of doing that, take a class. Put it down and read something. Put it down and watch a video that's going to help educate you. These are things that lead you to a higher level or likelihood of happiness. And then these are the edge cases. Remember that happiness can exist without massive success, as long as you have the basics covered. Food, shelter, not being intruded on by people who are going to put expectations on you. You take those three things, you have those things mastered. You could live in a postage stamp size room and find happiness. If you're looking for pleasures that are outside of that room, could be a little different. But again, if you're chasing pleasure and not chasing meaning and chasing development, you will find that if the likelihood of succeeding in chasing for pleasure is significantly lower because it has outside influences. Deciding to chase something about purpose is something that 99% of the time you have 100% control of. You can force yourself to take that class. You can watch that video that's going to teach you something. You can go to the gym and do some exercise. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You can go for a walk. You can control all of those things that give your body what it needs and your brain what it needs. And then the big issue is chasing after something creates a shadow effect. And this is a kind of, again, an edge case mentioned by Scott Adams. You push it away by running too hard at it. So the harder you chase, it's sort of like a magnet, right? You know, when magnets repel, if you haven't done the things that cause you to attract the successful situation, the successful situation attracts happiness, right? But if you chase happiness and you didn't do the successful things, your charge is opposite and it's going to push away. And the harder you push, the faster it pushes away. So if you want to maintain happiness, do the things that attract happiness, like all of the physical things that we talked about, all of the training things that we talked about, so that it attracts happiness to you. And always remember that bad moods stem from biology, hunger, fatigue, too much of one substance or too much food that's not good for you. You know, get a raw diet. Get apples, carrots, celery as your snack items. Get protein as opposed to carbs if you can. Even though it's processed food, I would argue that sandwich meat with low carb bread is probably better for you than a pita pocket, as an example. I'm just, you know, because the pita pocket is 100% processed through and through. A ham sandwich that you make where you pick a good quality bread and, you know, a half a pound of ham or even a can of tuna fish, high protein, low carb bread, healthier, way healthier, you know? So these are ways that you can take control of that stuff, even when the price is relatively high. I got a box full of tuna fish downstairs that cost me almost nothing compared to what it would cost me if I bought the same amount of tuna fish that I bought Hot Pockets. You know, tuna fish and mayonnaise versus Hot Pockets, I would go broke on Hot Pockets compared to tuna fish. Just plain and simple. And what does it take to have a tuna fish sandwich? Nothing. A little thing of mayonnaise, a little thing of relish if you like to spice it up a little bit, maybe some pepper and salt, and tuna fish, mix it up, throw it on the bread. Healthier, way healthier than all of those hard, pizza. And pizza's all processed, right? Anyways, I digress. There's a whole lot going on there I could keep going forever, but I'm going to cut this off, offer you one more opportunity to take that second sip. And to all of you that listened, I hope this was good, useful information. You probably heard this same information repackaged a million times by other people. But if you listen to the whole thing, thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking around. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to do my best to do some Wacky Wednesday, something fun. See if I can spice it up with something interesting and humorous. So here's the sip. May you have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.